What is up, Netrunners? Welcome to PeachHack. My name is Ben, and joining me today on guest commentary is Aaron. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey, Ben. How are you?
I am doing great. We are moving into the top 8 cut here at the Giga-bites Cafe Store Championship, January 24th, 2015 in Marietta, Georgia. Just finished 5 rounds of Swiss, and these are the top 8 players out of a field of 47 people. So these are the best of the best. On the left, we have David, who is running as Noise. Noise is able to force the corp to trash the top card of R&D the first time, or any time they install a virus. And he is running against Ahmed on the right, who is playing as Near Earth Hub, who gets to draw a card the first time they create a new server every turn. So, Aaron, you're sitting down at this table. What are you thinking to yourself when you look across the table and see these IDs?
So if I'm Ahmed and I see Noise, I know that I'm going to have to play faster than maybe I'm accustomed to.
Okay.
NEH has the ability, obviously, to get cards in hand really quickly as they're building servers. But Noise is going to put a lot of those cards that are going to win you the game, the Biotic Labors, the Sands. It's going to disrupt what he's trying to do. So I think Ahmed needs to have a mindset of, I'm going to play a little faster than maybe I was if I saw somebody else. If I'm looking at NEH as Noise, I know that I do not have time, and I don't know if he's playing a more aggressive Noise or kind of the more, the build viruses and just try to mill everything into archives. But you know that you're going to be on the clock when you see NEH.
Absolutely.
He could also be playing, maybe I've seen some Grail Ice variations of NEH. So sometimes those try to trick you into kind of getting a first turn run. But, we're right out of the gate with an account siphon. Now we know what's up.
Yeah, Ahmed choosing to leave HQ open. Maybe not expecting the account siphon out of Noise quite like this, but it does happen. Great move.
I haven't seen one of these noises in a while. You've seen with all the new viruses, especially with Order and Chaos, but now we know out of the gate.
Yeah, of course, this tournament happened before Order and Chaos came out. This is like a couple days before. When installing that Imp and getting rid of the Sansan early, great move.
That is the card you want to have. Imp with Sansan, best friends forever.
Now, you mentioned all the milling. Of course, Jackson Howard, I'm sure, is going to play an MVP role here for Near Earth Hub, saving the agendas from archives. I wonder if Noise is playing Hades Shard, maybe?
I think that's a pretty common include these days, especially for an aggressive Noise of just focus on taking as much money with account siphon and putting as much into archives as possible. Ooh, restructure.
Now, he could imp this. He elects not to.
Interesting. You don't see a lot of restructures. You see a lot more low to the ground. You see the sweeps week hedge fund, but restructure, he's counting on having a little bit more money than the average NEH deck.
Yeah, it's a very interesting include. Another interesting point is that he's put a pop-up window over HQ, which leaves him still vulnerable to account siphon. All David has to do is drop a same old thing, and he's got another account siphon on the board. Maybe he even is packing multiple account siphons. There's a lot of influence, but it's possible.
And you're exactly right. And he's already, you see the same old thing here. There it is.
Well, at least Ahmed gains a buck out of it. It's something. And I'd be surprised if Ahmed was packing any sort of tag punishment. A Noise running account siphon is probably playing tag me, playing no resources.
Yeah, it's a great point. I've seen some NEH lists that play maybe 1 or 2 closed accounts just to have some kind of game against people who want to float tags, but it's a great point.
Shoutouts to the sweet alt art Eli that Ahmed is sporting.
Trying to make us all jealous there, Ahmed.
So, Near Earth Hub, what are you thinking of this situation? I mean, you've got to get your pieces ready for some sort of fast advance. You're at 3 credits, which is absolutely not where you want to be as far as
No, it's not, and it's only going to get worse because with the Imp counter, if you try and lay down a pad campaign or marked accounts, you know Imp is live and is able to deny you even more money.
And I think actually he just installed a second Sansan, which his Imp counter, or David's Imp, is going to be able to take care of, but he does ice it up. With 4 credits, will he be able to res the ice? I would have presumed that he could. Of course, then another. A Knight. That'll take care of it.
What's interesting, if I'm Ahmed too, is with the advent of cards like Inject, he is a card away from getting maybe a handful of same old things or account siphons back to go back. So that pop-up window can't be making him feel very safe right now.
And check out the actual Knight figure that David put as his,
I like
as his hosting. I'm a big fan of that little nice knight miniature figure.
Yeah, Knight works great in a deck like this. It's a little bit tougher, and I've played it with the wild side variation. It's always tough because you're trying to fumble around and drawing cards with the click, and then you're trying to move Knight, and it can get a little slow. But in an aggressive build like this, I think it works pretty well.
Ahmed elects not to res that ice to force David to pay money, and Imp will take care of that Sansan.
That Imp has done a lot of work denying the fast advance.
It's almost like a card that gives the runner 10 free credits.
Exactly.
Hedge fund will bring Ahmed back into a healthy credit range.
Back into a healthy siphon range.
There you go. Is there another same old thing or another siphon, though, is the question. Deja vu, that'll do it
even
too.
better. There it is.
And there it is, yep. Back down to 5 plus 10 for David. Up to 24 credits now.
Now, the question that's interesting here is you have Noise that typically plays a lot of cheap viruses. I'm curious what he's going to be able to use all of those credits for. He's got a pretty big pile here, and obviously you've got expensive cards like Sansan, but a lot of those are already in the trash, so curious how he's going to convert those credits into some kind of advantage.
I mean, he's only installed one virus so far, which is Imp, so we haven't seen very much milling at all out from him yet.
Exactly. Special order, too. Very interesting splash.
What would you special order for? Maybe a Darwin?
I would agree. Usually
or a Mimic, I suppose.
Okay.
Another Sansan goes away, this time paying actual real-life money for it.
Let's see. We will not have to wait long.
Maybe a decoder would be a decent idea to get rid of Quandaries or something. Corroder is going to be the order of the day.
You know, I typically see a lot more Djinns splashed where they're going to get, the runner goes to get Parasite and starts to kind of work down or whittle down the Elis and start to build data sucker counters. But interesting to see a Noise variant with just kind of more traditional breaker suites.
Yeah. And he used the opportunity of the install of that Corroder to trash the Imp, which turns it back on for Deja Vu or maybe even Clone Chip or something like that. So that card was on, I think, the bottom of the deck when Ahmed cut it. And he accidentally left it behind. And so offered it to Ahmed again to shuffle it, and Ahmed declines. Because David now knows what the card is because he looked at it. But either way, Ahmed is okay not shuffling it. So
at this point, if we're Ahmed, I mean, I think we've seen between the special order, the account siphon, we've seen a lot of influence. So I'm guessing we have a pretty good idea of what all the out-of-faction cards are. If we're assuming we've at least got a couple account siphons, maybe a special order or two, and we've at least seen some cash, I think we at least know from Ahmed's perspective what the influence package is looking like.
And Ahmed did get a chance to finally play that restructure. And another mill out for David with another Imp with 3 counters this time because of Grimoire. And Ahmed accidentally dropped his cards while shuffling on an HQ run. Lotus Field.
That is exactly what he would have liked to have on HQ protecting him. So that Imp has done a lot of work for the runner in this game.
David paying 4 to get through Eli. I'm not going to click through. And he's all the way down to 9 credits already. Those 24 went away fast.
Yeah, at this point, I think Ahmed's doing the right thing. He needs to dig aggressively for ice because at this point with a pop-up, he's a Parasite away from having HQ completely unprotected. And with account siphon out there, he needs to prioritize protection over HQ as fast as possible.
And he is indeed digging now with Jackson Howard. I wonder if he's able to find any ice or not. Or if he's digging for maybe fast advanced tools like Bodic Labor.
You really see on a run like this the beauty of Eli. Ahmed has had very lightly iced servers the entire game so far, and that huge amount of siphon money is basically gone at this point. You can see how fast, even though it seems like a small board full of ice, you can see why NEH is so good even with an ice suite like that.
David is able to snatch a NAPD off the top of R&D. That puts him at 1 credit, but he is on the board in terms of points. Ahmed elects to pop Jackson, taking back, it looks like, a hedge fund, a face-down card, and I think that's a Lotus Field maybe? I believe.
He wants that Lotus Field bad. You know, well, you never like giving up points if I'm Ahmed. At the same point in time, if I'm going to lose something, losing the NAPD to clear the way so I can draw the Astros and start to get those scored, not the worst agenda in the world to lose.
Yeah, and Ahmed is at a great position in terms of money. I wonder how many more ways David is going to be able to pull back account siphon. But even if he does get, if Ahmed gets siphoned once, I mean, he'll be at 11. The magic numbers for fast advance for NEH are 7 if you're going to biotic something out, or 8 if you have a Sansan already on the board.
Yeah, you make a great point. I think he's at the point where siphon will not completely break him. I don't know if he's playing any expensive high-end ice like a toll booth in there where it may put a strain on his resources, but if Lotus Field's the most expensive thing he's playing, then I think he's comfortably out of at least siphon breaking his game plan.
And I think he took an extra money, and Ahmed was just keeping him honest.
So an interesting thing too, I know once all the noise variations started coming back in style, almost all of the ones I've seen are playing Aesop's. I think we've seen enough influence to where Aesop's pawn shop might just be out of the equation. He might just be running cash to say it's another virus and it makes me some money.
Face down card going into that remote server and ice going up even more. It might be safe to assume that's a Sansan. And a Parasite goes out on that pop-up window and
this
complete free reign on HQ.
Exactly what we were afraid of for Ahmed. He is now open to siphon, open to any. There it is.
And he can't pay for it. He can't imp it though. NAPD, if the runner has to access an agenda, NAPD is the one you want him to access. Now, Beanstalk royalties, interesting include.
Yeah, and at this point, Ahmed really has to focus on getting, if he's playing the biotic labors, he needs to get that in hand quickly and really start to score out the Astro if possible. He needs to get that threat on the board. Otherwise, the runner is going to be able to just sit back and wait and be able to raid HQ whenever he wants.
And it looks like Ahmed was probably digging a little bit for ice there, and I think he only drew agendas if I can see his hand properly. And yeah, I mean, HQ is wide open. It as the runner, in my mind, or actually no, all 3 Sansans are still in the trash, so that's not a Sansan down there. So if that's not a Sansan, because I was thinking as the runner, that's probably a Sansan. He's probably got a 2 for 3 in his hand. He's going to score it out, so I want to be hitting HQ. But if the Sansans are all gone, then there's nothing to worry about yet.
Now, Ben, do you go and do you try to take that NAPD while it's still there and just say, oh, here we go?
All right, here's a biotic. Now, note that Ahmed did install first and then use the biotic, which doesn't make a big difference in this game, but if you're playing against someone who has a Utopia Shard installed, you better make sure that you install first before the biotic, or they'll pop Utopia Shard before they're able to install the agenda. I've been able to pull that off with some people. It's been fun.
Now, this is that part of the game where you feel like you're ahead as the runner, and then the first Astro gets scored, and then suddenly it's amazing how you just feel constantly under pressure at this point to find that next one.
Another NAPD goes in the trash, and David pulls a breaking news off the top as well. Medium is out, so he's going to be seeing a lot more cards. And Eli is porous. Ooh, a data leak reversal. Interesting. He is considering himself permanently tagged. He's got 6 tags, so he could just mill all day if he wanted to. I wonder if Ahmed is going to take the opportunity to trash that, or if he's going to try to continue his Astro train in some way.
Yeah, this is a card that you've just got to respond to. I mean, he's already got points in archives. It's interesting. Do you just money up here and try to go for the NAPDs, or do you just try to mill out the free agendas?
I mean, so he's got 1 NAPD and a breaking news. David does. We've got to assume probably that there's a Jackson on the table, though. That one of those 2 cards might be a Jackson. Because, I mean, David could just, money up and then straight up win the game by running archives if he has 8. Well, I mean, it's possible that those aren't Jacksons. You could try to just take 2 to get up to 4, run, and see if he pops a Jackson or not.
Yeah, and this is where the Eli's doing a lot of work now, because obviously with that medium counter on 2, multiple runs on R&D would end the game right now. But Eli, obviously, with runners low money at this point, Eli is going to keep that from happening, to where at least Ahmed can keep the game at least somewhat under control from him just medium digging to see 5 or 6 cards.
I wonder what Ahmed is considering here, because I think it is his turn. He seems to be thinking about this hard. Maybe considering trashing that daily reversal, as opposed to maybe scoring out another agenda, which could be another possibility. He decides to install. And is that decision point going to come? Oh, we got a shipment from Samsung.
Oh, there we go.
So advance twice and using AstroScript. He's going to get another one. So HQ remains open. Data leak reversal stays online.
The train is running strong.
Fortunately, he didn't have to spend any money on that because he used shipment from Sansan. Certainly a fun include. So it's interesting that with like Beanstalk royalties and shipment, he's playing a game with his deck that assumes that he's going to be low on credits, which is interesting.
You know, at this point, if I'm Ahmed, I think the path to victory here is to try to secure that last breaking news and find either the Astro or the Beal, because then you've got basically a guaranteed win in hand. If you see those cards in 2 turns, you can have this game locked up.
David did do a dig on R&D, seeing 3 cards, but nothing. At least it does have an R&D lock somewhat in place. Though if Ahmed does have a Jackson, he could break it pretty easily. But, yeah, Eli by itself is staying pretty, porous enough that David can still do a lot of damage just on even 1 run a turn.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know you have the NAPDs in the trash. You can't really spend your turns wiping virus counters and just hoping you can stabilize. I think you just have to be pretty aggressive here and try to go for the win, because Noise has got you under such pressure to where he could always mill more cards. He could always simply try to money up and get the NAPDs that are there. So I think at this point you've just got to try and outpace the runner and try to score out those last few points.
It's funny, if Ahmed chooses to purge here, that would almost force him into that. Where
That's a great point.
Yeah, running on R&D wouldn't help him anymore. So might as well money up or press the data leak reversal button a bunch of times.
At this point, it's interesting because you see the Siphon in the trash. I think at this point, you can't play around Siphon anymore. I think HQ is just going to have to be wide open, and you just have to play as though you don't have agendas in your hands, and you assume that you're not going to get attacked in HQ. You haven't seen anything like a Nerve agent that's really going to threaten multi-access on HQ. So I think you just have to be a little bit comfortable with the fact that HQ is going to be wide open for the rest of this game.
And a lot of times when you're playing NEH, HQ is a pretty safe place anyway, because when you have Astro out there with a counter, a lot of times you'll draw the agenda and then immediately install, advance twice, and score it. But he does elect to ice it up and advance that card once. Interesting.
Now, that's been there a while,
yeah.
So it's interesting that Ahmed's been able to slow roll that installed card.
4 cards for David. Whiff. Swing and a miss.
Ahmed needs to give whoever is running his R&D a raise, because it is holding strong this game.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
And then he advances Beal 3 times and uses an Astro counter to bring that up to 5, meaning that Beal is worth 3 points. And Ahmed wins the game with an overscored Beal. What a bluff. That was in there for so long.
Successfully slow rolls all of us. I think at a certain point you just assume that it's either a bluffed asset or a Jackson, like you said, Ben. But Ahmed had us all fooled.
And two agendas at the very bottom of the deck.
Sometimes R&D is just on your side.
Yeah, well played to Ahmed. That was a fantastic play. It's one of the things I love about Netrunner is the mind games involved.
Yeah, he did a great job, and I think played out that situation as best he could. He was under tremendous pressure, but at a certain point, if you haven't advanced it for a while and the runner hasn't run it, you just have to assume that until you do something in advance, that card's going to be safe, and clearly it played out here. And
David was saying that pad campaign, he thought that was a Jackson, so he thought the Archives runs were going to be worthless. So 2 great mind games out of Ahmed. So great game. Well played to Ahmed. Congratulations to him. And we're going to be moving on to the next round pretty soon. Thanks for joining us. Aaron, thank you for joining me on the commentary.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see you guys next time.